It is time to take a deep breath right here on a mental health break. Please remember, you are never alone. I launched this show after suffering a traumatic brain injury, and as I recovered, I learned the importance of prioritizing my mental health, and my guests and I will help do the same for you. Let's enjoy the episode together.
The world may be against you, but the universe is for you. And that's really all that matters. And, one thing also is that if the journey is the destination, whatever point we're on in our journeys, we have to be constantly on the lookout for what we're supposed to learn and take from this.
Here we go. We're back with one more today, live stream. We're bringing back Justin, a familiar face from Writing with the Authors. Justin, thanks for coming on.
Good to be here or there or wherever. That's the beauty about this thing. I'm everywhere, so that's all good.
We are here on a mental health break. He's very courageous in sharing his story with substance abuse, PTSD, depression, anxiety disorders, but he also does some fun stuff. He does his stand-up comics, which I love, and he's got an awesome book for us mental health champions, which we will dive into eventually. But before we get going, I want to show love to John Ford, bringing up the empathy set and empathy card set. Head to empathyset.com to learn more. But Justin, I want to learn more about you and your mental health journey. Please share your story, your mental health from wherever you feel comfortable.
Yeah. It's always good to know kind of the background because the whole point of this, I struggled with listening to people when I was really struggling. It was hard to connect with people who I didn't feel like really understood where I've been. So I like to kind of let people in and know kind of my background a little bit. And, I kind of grew up in what I consider to be an emotional vacuum. Nothing was discussed in my household. It was mostly just me and my mom, but my dad kind of left around 7th grade. But even when he was there, he's also an emotional vacuum. So there just was no discussion about anything, whether it be good or bad, any sort of, there's a lot of pop culture in my book. And I like to say it's just like Fight Club. The first rule is you do not discuss your feelings. And the second rule is you do not discuss your feelings. And growing up in an atmosphere like that is just very constricting and suppressive. And you just can't talk about anything. And, when you don't tell a child that they're loved and they're safe and they're valued, they look to the world for love, validation, and safety. And the world clearly told me I was unsafe, unloved, and not important. So that turned into a whole lot of issues in his massive drug and alcohol problem. Spent nights in jails, rehab centers, at halfway houses, park benches. I mean, that's really a low time is when you have no place to go but go to a park. So, but those times really, really made me who I am, and I would never trade them for anything. And it was kind of, I went through that, and I found in my 30s, like a little bit of relief here and there with certain things. And it was enough to kind of keep me sober for quite a few years, but the things I'd found in kind of Christianity and AA just weren't really weren't doing it. And when I had I had a series of horrible things happen in adulthood that, there's this low T trauma, and then there's capital T trauma. And capital T trauma is kind of these big knee-jerking life-changing events, death of a loved one, sexual abuse and, physical abuse. But then there's low T trauma, which is what I experienced in childhood, kind of a slow burn, neglectful kind of trauma. But the big T trauma has happened to me in my adulthood, and I went through several. I went through, it was a slow progress of the death of my mother, and then I had a sister die. I had a close childhood friend die. I was in a tough place. I was at a drug dealer's house. I got attacked by an Alaskan Malamute, all in my face, and was ripped to shreds. And then I had an instance where I had a fiance, and we had an infant child, and she just decided to up and leave and move across the country, and then decided it was easier just to cut me out. So I haven't seen him in 2.5 years. So and it's not to say like, woe is me, like, it's just to say I get pain, and I understand pain, and I know where people are coming from, and I've gotten through it, and I'm stronger because of it. And, I created this whole system to help heal trauma, because trauma is the most important and least understood thing in society today. Just period. Humanity, not just American society, it's just humanity. And, trauma just sits in your frontal lobe right there, and it clouds it, And your frontal lobe is what makes us human. It's in charge of impulse control and your personality and judgment and just all these critically important things that make us human. And that's where our trauma sits, just right here in the front, and it just clouds it. And the Western medicine just doesn't quite understand how to actually heal trauma. And I'm not sure if they're really interested in healing trauma because, a healed individual lines no one's pockets. So I don't know if there's really an actual interest in healing trauma. But any disease labeled chronic, it is my belief that there's some spiritual, energetic things going on there. And that's why I kind of created this in the book.
Well, congratulations on how far you've come, man. I know I told you that in the last show, but to see you continue to find new ways to stay inspired and stay on the right track is truly inspirational. Everyone out there, do not give up. You are not alone. He is an amazing resource. We'll get his contact info at the end. But now that you are on the right track, what are some things you do, maybe on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, to take care of your mental health?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I wrote the book about. And I hope it's kind of the seed that plants the career tree, because I've really discovered a lot of amazing things. And there's, it created kind of a system of 13 rungs, 13 things that, there I was in AA for quite a while. I kind of saw the steps, and I needed a way to organize all this information in my head. And so I created the rungs, which is, moving forward is good, but moving up is better. A bird has a better perspective on things than a worm. So, there's just all these 13 really critically important things that I do as much as I can. I mean, there's this shadow work, which is getting deep into the subconscious. We have to know how we're programmed. It's critically important to know how we're programmed. We're kind of either programmed for three things. It's, we're either programmed for greatness, we're programmed for mediocrity, or we're programmed for failure. And, some searching will tell you which one you're programmed for, but you can always change course. And that can be good or bad, but we can always reprogram. So, and meditation is a big part of it. And, health, working out, nutrition, these are all things that in there, but there's other things too. But that's kind of what I kind of created the system for.
Well, I love it. And systems are most important. They're make or break. They help me stay less stressed and get me through each day, each task. And you've also added a few things to everyone's tool chest. Everyone try out those. They may not work for you, but works for some, won't work for everyone. But he just gave you a few new things. You happen to have your book nearby?
Yes, yeah, it's right.
Let's hold it up.
Right here. It's this one, Sourcery 101. Spell it with a little differently. So it's not about, casting spells, or, you can leave your hooded robes and magic wands in the closet for your next trip to Universal Studios and the Harry Potter thing. It's not about that. Sorcery, I spell it with a U. So it's source energy, which explaining this is how we heal and thrive. This is how to heal trauma is through source energy. And that is the only way to do it. But, explaining source energy to someone is difficult, because it's like explaining water to a fish. Like, it's hard to do, but you can understand just that mental image. It shows how important, water is to a fish. That's how important source energy is to us. And it surrounds us, and it's how we breathe and live and move, and it's everything. And so that is the key in order to truly heal and thrive, that we have to incorporate that into it. Otherwise it's not going to happen.
Thank you for putting this out into the world. Did you find there were any mental health benefits with you writing?
Yeah, huge. Writing was a big part of, that was like, it was like a healing day. It's kind of a very meta book, because I wrote the book really for me. I didn't write it for other people. I wrote it for me. And in the writing of it, I realized that, I've put something special together. There's a lot of humor and pop culture in it. And, I believe Jesus was such a fantastic, a spiritual healer, because he was able to use these parables and bring this force that I'm talking about into terms that people can understand. Unfortunately, his parables are 2,000 years old. They're a little bit dated. So, but I use that as kind of, this thing, how to explain this. And there's a lot of technology parables, which technology I found was amazing to use parables, and pop culture too. And I think a lot of the answers to life's riddles are hidden in the nooks and crannies of pop culture. So it was really fun writing and coming up with all this stuff, because I tapped into this field of energy, and it kind of used, it's ancient wisdom. It's been around since the beginning of time, but it used my subconscious and my experience and my humor and all these things, and kind of transferred through me and came out my fingers on the laptop. So it was extremely therapeutic writing the book, and it's something I have forever now, and I can just read it the audio. I just finished the audio. It'll probably be out in a couple weeks. And the audio is even more fun because like the jokes are funny in the book, but I took all these things that I had from my stand-up career, and I was able to, I don't do stand-up anymore. It's just not a healthy atmosphere. I quit it a long time ago, but I have all these jokes from it, and I got to incorporate those into the book. And so the audio portion of it is really funny because they're funny in the book, but me telling them, it adds another level.
Well, let me know if you have any smooth sailing uploading that audiobook, or if there's anyone tuning in today. I've got several audiobooks done and I cannot get them to simply get uploaded the right way. So they're just sitting there done. So definitely, just to keep me posted with your efforts there. I tried to use Upwork, Fiverr, and like an unfortunate case, and we won't go down the entrepreneurial rabbit hole on this podcast, but I've used freelancers many times, maybe 10 times for different books and projects. I have been taken advantage of that many times in these projects. So getting these liberals, but that's part of entrepreneurship. You're up, you're down. We touched on so much already and we're just getting started. Justin, now that you have this book, do you think there'll be a second book? Since this is a mental health related book, I feel inclined to ask.
I'd originally thought of it, kind of like as a workbook. But it just got I didn't want it to get too big or too overwhelming. So that could be like a kind of 101.5, like kind of a shorter, like workbook, things you can do in these 13 rungs that, everything that you can kind of focus on and concentrate on and incorporate into your life. So that's one. And then 102, I've already got in mind. And, there's training to be a shaman, and you can go to South America and there's a training school you can go to. So that's kind of like, I feel like that would be on 102 or 201 or something like that. That would be the next level. I'm not a trained shaman, but I would love to get trained in the energetic arts and, kind of do that and be able to take the book to that next level. Cause this is just my basic knowledge of the whole kind of shamanistic thing and the energies and everything that I've learned. Quantum, there's a lot of quantum kind of science and physics in it, but it's from a comedian standpoint, not a scientist standpoint. So it's stuff everyone can easily understand. There's no tough equations in there or anything like that, but it takes the quantum and, they say there's a science for the very big and a science for the very small. And I kind of disagree with that. I think there's one science, and it is the science of the quantum. Everything just takes longer for you to see in the kind of classical physical sense, but everything starts on a quantum level, and just time isn't real, but we experience it as real. There is only one science, and I believe it is the science of the quantum. It's fascinating to me. I just absolutely love it. But yeah, I'm hoping 102 to be that trip to be a shaman.
What got you into that work?
My own healing. I've been pretty miserable my whole life. And it's just something that even when I was sober, there was kind of these things that Christianity and AA and these kind of things that these are the routes you're supposed to go. But the thing is in Western medicine, everything is so separate. Everything is about, everything is about symptoms. And it's, so like if you have depression, go talk to a therapist. If you have anxiety, you go take some pills to the psychiatrist. If you have alcohol problems, go to AA. If you have drug problems, don't go to AA, you go to NA. If you have gambling problems, you go to GA. And if you want to talk about your soul, spirit, you got to go to church for that. So everything is completely separate when there's really only one core issue, and that's spiritual bankruptcy for these things. And it's not to say that doctors are bad. Certainly if I, fall off a roof and there's a bone sticking out of my arm, please don't send me to a chiropractor. That's, acupuncture is not going to do much for me at that point. So it's not to say that they're bad or wrong. But once the bone is set and the doctor has done his part or her part, it is the body that heals itself. What made the body heals the body. And so the whole sorcery thing and shamanism and these things, it's emotionally and spiritually setting the bone. People understand the body so much better than the mind and spirit. You have to emotionally set the bone so that your body and mind can heal itself. But if you never do that, then the body and mind and spirit will never be healed. And it is a triangle, which is the body, mind, and spirit. And it's only in the past maybe 10 years have they finally said, okay, mind and body, these things are connected. And that's so recent. 10 or 20 years, they're like, okay, but the spirit will never be included in that, ever. So, and without that, there's no healing chronic illness. There's not. So that is what got me into the shamanistic and really my own healing and clearing this up. Like I wrote a book. Like, are you kidding me? Like, it's a pretty good book too. Like, this is someone who couldn't get past my own mind because I was spending nights on park benches and horrible like trauma, these like anxiety and depression and all these things. And I've cleared this up now to where I can think. And I just want everyone to be able to experience this. And, it was some pretty amazing times in meditation that showed me that there is a lot more to this world than we know.
Oh my gosh. And I've got to read the first few pages of the book. It's definitely a must own, everyone. Please go out there if this is resonating with you in any bit at all. Got the website right up here if you're catching this on my wall once it goes live, or if you're watching it live with us, awakenthesorcerer.com. And remember, it's spelled a little different, so make sure you
wait. I missed the A there, awaken, but sorcerer is spelled different.
All right. Well, then you heard it from him. But now
Yeah.
I'd like to take this point of the show here, Justin, to ask you for some advice. If there's anyone out here struggling today who can't find a way to keep going, can you please give them some advice?
Yeah. Well, one thing is, the world may be against you, but the universe is for you. And that's really all that matters. And, one thing also is that if the journey is the destination, whatever point we're on in our journeys, we have to be constantly on the lookout for what we're supposed to learn and take from this, because life is never one. It's the whole idea of contrast. What is light without darkness? We need these times of really tough times to enjoy the good times better. So it's critical to look at that. The other big one is to just don't stop before the miracle happens. And the miracle happens when you have programmed yourself with the things I wrote about, and you can find them anywhere. It doesn't have to be my book, but like you've programmed yourself now with the idea of thriving and happiness and healing, and you've programmed yourself to be that person, and then you're just naturally that person. But it takes a lot of effort, and it's hard in the beginning, because when you cross the river of change, you're going to pass through an extreme undercurrent of discomfort. Extreme, because you're rewiring your mind. But it absolutely can be done, and it is worth it. It's just really hard in the beginning, but it gets so much easier.
Such incredible advice. And I always try to end the show with some positive words like that, where you heard his story today, and now he's not only just living, he's thriving. He's got his awesome book out there that I know he put a lot of work into. Where can we find you online? Of course, awakenthesorcerer.com. Where else can we get in touch with you?
Yeah, Awaken the Sorcerer. And yeah, I've been off social media for 4 years. That was kind of one of my things. I just kind of blipped out and deleted everything. But I recently got back on at least Instagram and kind of starting there. So it's sorcerer_13, sorcerer with a U. I just now starting out, but anyone watching this, I'll follow you right back. So if you just want an extra follower, anyone watching this, I'm interested in your life. I don't have it like set up to like follow celebrities. I want to follow people, like real people. So, follow me, I'll follow you right back. But that's where everything is taken. And yeah, hopefully the audio will be out soon. But Awaken the Sorcerer and the Instagram. And if you want a free copy, if you can't afford the book, you can always email me at sorcerer@gmail. I have free e-codes, or I can send you a signed copy of the book too. So either on Instagram or email sorcerer13@gmail.
Thank you for sharing that and the kind offer, everyone. As you can see, he is here to help. He is a mental health champion, and he is going to keep doing the right thing. I always encourage him to reach back out. We'll bring him back on for a catch-up show. As his healing is continuing, he continues to grow right here with all of you. Remember, you are never alone. My name is Vincent A. Lancey, and I want to thank you for keeping the show a top 5% global show. Remember to subscribe to stay current with our field of mental health champions. And with that, we're signing off across the country today. Justin, thank you so much for joining me on another podcast, my friend.
Thank you so much. It's been real.